All right. Hi, Corey. Welcome to the Animal Tone podcast.
Hello, welcome. Sorry, I messed it up already.
You mentioned there how sometimes vegan activists or vegans can get really vitriolic online and say really like horrible things. And I think a lot of people can do this. Online is like a gross space. But I wonder if sometimes vegans who get bitchy and nasty and horrible and dickish online, if they're not kind of somehow held to a higher, the whole movement gets wrapped on the knuckles because somehow a small group of people have been knobheads. Or am I just reducing and diminishing how big this problem is actually in the vegan movement?
I think your individualizing was actually a structural issue here because that all social justice movements come across that sort of um, painting them to be whiny or cantankerous or violent or too rebellious or woo woo or whatever, all kinds of pejoratives that have been dragged out.
Mm.
If you're challenging the status quo, if you're challenging power, that is one of the first things that they're going to drag out. And they will hype up like this. I have a blog post on this somewhere. I have to drag it out, but there's this myth, for instance, in the animal rights movement of the pure vegan, and we don't want to promote this idea of the pure vegan. And I said, whoever actually, I started to thinking about it. Whoever was promoting the pure veganism thing, I don't remember anyone. Like even the Vegan Society,
Yeah.
the caveat of is be vegan means to avoid animal products as much as practical and possible. And so then I realized who's the one who kept
Mm.
saying this, that we need to be realistic and not paint ourselves as these purist vegans. I realized it was all these major animal welfare charities who are not animal rights related, right? They're using that, saying, "Oh, people, you're basically creating a straw person argument." And so I think that what happens basically is when we're speaking truth to power, power pushes back and tries to create this image of us being nasty and whatever. It's the same deal with the state. If anybody has not seen this, do a Google search where you can see, like with the United States and Great Britain, the security guards, the border security people, they're trained to look for different organizations that vegans and animal rights activists might be associated with, and organizations like the Vegan Society are on there. Like, for Pete's sake, what kind of terrorist activity are they doing? Just trying to sell more stuff, right? They're not radical at all. But the
Mm.
idea is to paint us as terrorists. I mean, I was actually stopped in New Zealand because I was there for an animal rights conference, and I made the mistake of saying, "I'm here for an animal rights conference." Right this way, madam. So I think that
Oh,
it's not so
wow.
much what we're doing within the movement. There's a lot actually that's the narrative is being shaped from outside. Within the movement, I've also written quite a lot about this, like in my second book, talking about infighting. Infighting is normal to social movements. It's simply normal to social movements. But what I was kind of worried about there is that infighting is seen as not normal to social movements and something that should be manipulated and controlled or quelled in some way. But it's often the organizations with the power, the hegemonic organizations who control the field. They're the ones that say, you need to change. We're talking to the radicals. You need to change and stop being a jerk or too cantankerous or whatever else. And you need to quit being so purist
Mm.
and radical and da da da. They never listen. They would never say, let's stop the infighting by, oh, I don't know, promoting veganism, so it doesn't piss people off in the first place. So what I'm asking them when we're talking about infighting is it's more than just this individual approach. Wow, so and so is just a jerk. There's always going to be a jerk, of course. But really, when we're talking about the politics of discourse and animal rights, and we're talking about and other social movements as well, we're talking about other more structural things that are in place: the counter movements, the state, uh, compromised welfare organizations that are supposedly within our movement, which actually collude quite a bit with the state and industry. The industry, of course, they're also very much so trying to paint us as these radical, angry, dangerous people. So I want us to be very careful then when we start politicizing infighting amongst ourselves, because it's actually part of a larger
Mm.
kind of connection there. We're always going to have infighting. And guess what? Infighting has led to some of the most important developments in the animal rights movement. If we didn't have infighting, we would not be vegan. If we didn't have infighting, we would still have the RSPCA promoting hunting. If we didn't have infighting, we would still have major organizations, quote unquote, euthanizing healthy dogs and cats which some organizations still do, but they're outed now, and it's not okay to do it anymore. We challenge it quite a bit. It's infighting that has actually challenged all of those actually deeply speciesist
Yeah.
practices that the animal rights movement made room for.